This works. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the video. Very simple topic, very simple video today. It's just gonna be my full training session, my stretching and yoga afterward. I am gonna get all changed up, put on my boots, and then let's just hop right into it. So very first thing is I like to do a warm-up. This warm-up lasts for about 5 to 10 minutes. What I usually do is set 2 cones anywhere from 15 to 20 yards apart. The very first thing is I just do some very light jogging. I jog back and forth around the cones anywhere from 4 to 5 times until I'm starting to really get the blood flowing. And especially in the colder environments, that's where I really do more running to really warm myself up before I train. But here, 4 to 5 times will be good. And then I start doing some dynamic movements, some high knees, some butt kickers, some side to side, karaoke, all the normal dynamic movements. And what I like to do is think of all the different parts of my legs and warm up each one. So I like to do dynamic stretching and dynamic movements to warm up the glutes, the hips, the quads, the hamstrings, and the calves, get everything firing and everything ready to go. So I'll let you guys just watch it right now, but this warm up lasted about 7 minutes. After the warm-up, I set a 1x1 yard box, and in this box I like to juggle. Now I like to create a box when I'm juggling just to work more on my control and to keep the ball in a certain area. I feel like that's more challenging, and I like to challenge myself when I'm doing juggling instead of just running all over the place and really chasing after the ball instead of controlling where the ball is. Now this drill is called progression juggling. So if you guys can see, what I do is I do 1 juggle on my right foot, 1 juggle on my left foot, 2 on my right, 2 on my left, 3 on my right, 3 on my left, and then go all the way up to 10 juggles. And then once I hit 10, I immediately go back to 9 on each foot, 8 on each foot, all the way back to 1. And now if you notice too, I'm using more of the toe box of my foot to do very light, small juggles, almost keeping it below my middle of my shin the entire time, maybe below my knee. And I like to call this below knee juggling. So I did that, I worked all the way up to 10 juggles and then all the way back down to 1. So I'll let you guys watch that right now. after I feel comfortable with that toe box juggling, that small, tiny, tight juggling, I like to open up a little bit more, do a little bit more on the laces, and work on waist tight juggling. So I did the same exact thing, but this time what I did is I went up to 3 juggles, and I'm really focusing on balancing on one leg while I'm juggling, and then all the way back down to 1. And then so that was about it for juggling. The next thing is I just set 3 cones, is about a foot apart to make almost a 90-degree angle, and then I do my normal V taps with both feet. So what I like to do is I like to count an entire V, so I go up, back as 1 rep, and I like to do 15 of those. That way I get 15 reps on each side to make 30 total. I did 2 sets like this where V taps with both feet, and then I did the same exact thing but with V taps with a single foot, so 2 sets on the right and then 2 sets on the left. I like to put the cones there again to kind of challenge myself to make every single touch perfect, because if I hit it a little bit too far, I hit the cone, and if I don't go far enough, then I kind of see like, oh, I'm not going far enough. I like to keep it consistent, so those cones really help me out. Now after the V taps, what I did is I just put 2 cones about 5 yards apart, and then I did the same exact thing about 10 yards down to make like a 5 by 10 yard box. And so what I do is I start on one end and I do these tight space dribbling routines all the way through. I almost think of like a random pattern beforehand, so it really kind of depends on what I'm feeling at that moment, and I'll do the entire pattern all the way down and then come all the way back. So you'll see I do inside outside of both legs, and then I do inside outside back. And then I might do tap tap roll all the way down, then tap tap roll all the way back. And I might do 2 touches to a step over, then 2 touches to the step over again. It really varies and changes up, but I try to keep the pattern consistent while also keeping it freestyle and kind of instinctual at the same time. So I try to think of 10 things to do in this dribbling drill, so I'll let you guys just watch it. You can write it down if you want, but it's very almost instinctual of what I want to do right then. I almost make up the pattern as I'm going. So for all these drills, I go once all the way down, once all the way back, that's 1 set, and then I do 2 sets for everything. My rest is always with everything on this training session, it's just how I'm feeling. I try to cut down the rest as short as possible, but I also want to make those reps quality reps. I don't want to be doing this so tired and haphazardly, so I really like to kind of balance that line of making it challenging by shortening up the rest time while also keeping the quality high with the rest time. Now after the 10-yard dribbling drill, what I did is a zigzag reverse drill. In the zigzag reverse drill, what you'll see is I'm dribbling out to a cone and I'm acting like it's the defender. I'm gonna cut it with the outside of my foot, cut it more than 180 degrees, push it out and get away from that defender. Now I'm gonna dribble again with the opposite foot, get to the next cone, cut, push it out to the next cone. And do this all the way down 3 times on the right, 3 times on the left, all the way down and all the way back is 1 set, and I did 3 sets of these. Again, I'm really trying to shorten up the rest time on this because I wanna keep this game realistic and keep it very challenging. So that was the entire training session. It was actually 1 hour and 15 minutes long. So right in that gap, I said between an hour and a half, I think. So really good training session, really happy with it. Tiring, challenging, very tight, controlled, all about dribbling. Now what I'm gonna do is do a full stretching and foam rolling session. So I'll show you guys that right now, but I'm gonna kind of narrate it as well. So when it comes to foam rolling, what I like to do is just spend about 2 minutes on each of my body parts, especially the parts that are really sore for me. For example, my calves and hamstrings, for whatever reason, are never very tight at all. It almost feels like when I'm doing the foam rolling on my hamstrings and my calves, I'm really not doing anything. So I really like to focus on my tight areas, which for me are the quads. The quads are the tightest always for me, so I spend a lot of time on the outside of the quad, the inside of the quad, the front of the quad, and I spend a ton of time on my hip flexors and my glutes. So I'll probably spend about 5 minutes on my quads, maybe 3 to 4 minutes on my glutes and hip flexors, and then I'll spend another 2 minutes on my groin. And then I kind of skip over my calves and hamstrings, but that's just personally for me what I do. If your hamstrings are super tight, spend more time on your hamstrings. Now, after the foam rolling, what I like to do is just stretch out my entire body. So I kind of like to stretch at the very end, but I don't know. There's been so many studies about whether you should stretch later in the day, whether you should stretch when you're warm or cold, or I don't know. But I usually just kind of stretch after my foam rolling. So what I do for my stretches is about 30 to 60 second holds for everything. Again, kind of going through all the body parts. So I start from my glutes. I do 2 sets of like 60-second holds for my glutes. Then I'll do my hip flexors, my groins, my quads, my hamstrings, my calves, everything kind of working down. Everything is between 30 to 60-second hold, and I do everything for 1 to 2 sets depending on how tight it is. So again, for my quads, which are my most tight thing, I'll spend 2 sets of 60 seconds. When it comes to my calves or my hamstrings, when they're a little bit more loose, I might just do 1 set of 30 seconds. So I'm always kind of playing everything by ear, but that is like my general foam rolling and stretching plan. So that's the entire workout, what I did today. In total, it took about 2 hours. So like I said, the foam rolling and the stretching took about 45 minutes. 2-hour session, really happy. I'm gonna go home and make a nice smoothie. So that's about it, guys. Do I have to say this? I'm not gonna say it, but you know what to do. And it looks like this, and it looks like It looks like the subscribe button. Hit that subscribe button.